Rahsaan Roland Kirk was an American jazz multi-instrumentalist, mainly of blown instruments, but not entirely. His career spanned from 1955 to 1977, and he was known for several things. So one of them was for playing unusual versions of instruments. Another was for playing several instruments at once, for example, two or three saxophones. Another one was for his overt political views, which he was quite vocal about in concerts. He pioneered some particular playing techniques. He pioneered some flute playing with humming at the same time that gives a very particular sound that inspired Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. He also inspired David Jackson of Van de Graaff Generator, who was known for playing two saxes at once. And apparently he was quite a character. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album The Inflated Pair, or Peer, I don't know which word it's meant to be, by Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And it's an album of small band instrumental jazz, and it's my first time listening to it, but it's not my first encounter with Roland Kirk. I reviewed one of his albums not that long ago on this channel. So I find it interesting how, and maybe a little bit curious, how Wikipedia has such a varied amount of coverage on these albums. Wikipedia is one of my main sources of information, and why not? Occasionally there are things that are incorrect there, but mostly it's a really good way of getting quick overviews of things. And so some albums, the Wikipedia page is huge, and there's lots of information, detail, background. Sometimes it even goes to the extent of going through each track in turn and giving you a description of what's going on in there. Sometimes there's less. This is kind of somewhere on the very much the other end of the spectrum here, because there is one paragraph plus information on this album. And the thing that I find curious about this is that, okay, I get that some albums are more popular than others, and some albums have been more thought about than others. But given the kind of source that I have of this list of albums, the premise is that the albums around about the same in this list are about the same amount of how well considered they are. And that's taken from critic lists. It's not a kind of an idle boast that this is the case. So why is it that there are albums on here that have such a small Wikipedia presence? And in fact, I have had albums that have no Wikipedia presence at all. Anyway, let's get into the album and stop philosophizing about Wikipedia. So we've got here piano, bass and drums. I think there's trombone on one track as well. And then we've got Roland Kirk himself playing other things. And those other things include, and maybe limited to, this is what it says in the credits, sax, fair enough, manzello, string. Those two are kind of sax-related instruments, apparently. Clarinet, flute, whistle, and cor anglais, which is a kind of clarinet oboe thing, and flexitone, which I then went and looked up, and I recognised when it talked about it. There's in one of the tracks, there's this kind of percussive noise that changes in pitch, as if you got a piece of metal and you're hitting it and it's changing shape, and that's exactly what's happening. So I found out about that. It's great sound, by the way. I want one of these. I want a flexitone. I'm also just kind of, I'm definitely distractible today. I'm just going to talk about a thought that I've had for many years about cor anglais and French horn, which is that I find it curious that cor anglais, which means something like, it's not quite horn, but something. Anyway, anglais, English, is named in French, whereas French horn is named in English. So maybe it's just the allure of something that's foreign to whatever language you're in. Anyway, let's finally get on to the nature of this album. It's kind of light-hearted. They definitely feel like they're having fun. Certainly, Roland Kirk feels like he's having as much fun as he can have making an album. Sometimes he's doing what I understand is his party trick of playing two things at once. Two mouth pieces in his mouth. I understand he can do more than two sometimes. Some of the wind instruments here have a more kind of toy-like quality sound to them, or maybe it's just in the way that he plays them, which is a kind of light-hearted way that gives the whole thing a little bit of a kind of slight cartoony, circusy feel at times. But as jazz, one of the one of the nicest for that, I think, is a laugh for Rory, is which includes the sounds of a child making noises as well. It's almost cartoon-like, but some really nice flute playing in there. Also going to bring out a handful of fives, which is a nice 5/8 track. It wasn't until second listening that I actually clocked that it's a 5/8 track because they make it sound so natural, which is a great feat if you can do it. There's Creole Love Call is a Duke Ellington number on here, but all the rest, I believe, are written by Kirk. Overall, I'd say there's some great musicianship here, coupled with a light-hearted attitude. It's quite a happy album. I would think that I prefer to if the piano and bass were a little bit higher in the mix. It's a shame that you can kind of pick up the piano, and there's some nice piano playing. You really can't pick up the bass very much, depending on what you're listening on. But I've listened on some reasonable systems and still found it pretty quiet. Okay, but that's about my only real strong negative here. I did quite enjoy it. In fact, more than quite. I did enjoy it. It was good. So, as always, at this point, I want to ask you, what do you think of this album? And could you please let me know by leaving me a comment? And that's it from me for now.